All right. Here we are, Sunday Night Live on planet Earth. Planet Earth. Kind of round, globish. But I'm old school, you know? Old school. Absolutely. New school is what? I don't even think about it anyway. So, yeah, welcome to Monday Morning Live in Asia and Australia, and Sunday Night Live on the other side of the earth. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Are we okay? I think everything is all set. I hope. Should I be in portrait or what? Hmm. Okay, gotta change this. Change this to that. Come on, come on. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, portrait. Cool. All right, here we go. All right, so welcome, Sunday Night Live. Anyway, interesting is that good evening. Yeah, flat. It's a flat. Yeah, sure, it's flat. It's flatter. And it ends at what? It ends at. Are there walls, or does it not end? And it's daylight here and sunlight and the darkness here. Anyway, it makes sense to me, as long as I'm not thinking. Okay, cool. So we're all here. Dealing fantastic. All right. Good, good, good. Let's try to do as many questions as we can today. Um, yeah. Everybody probably aware that there's, what is it called? The Atlas, something that's flying towards us just past the sun or something like that. Yeah, whatever that means. Right? Who knows what's in store? So let's not even think about it because it's too weird. Too weird. Let's go to some. Here we are. Okay, cool. All right. So, yeah. And by the way, if you're not in a group yet, then think about it, because today's format, tonight's format, what we have to do is wake up, Dr. Lodi. Wake up. Okay, Emma, I'm awake. Thank you very much. As you know, this format is people have sent in questions, and we're going to try to answer as many as we can, and we can't really interact. And that's the problem, because a lot of times the questions aren't complete. There's a lot of missing parts that, and I can't really answer it that well because I need to have more information. So it would require some dialogue, and so that's what we are. That's why we have these groups, all right? And because I no longer do private consultations, because it makes these groups are makes much more sense. I can work with a lot of different people at the same time, and it's just and it's an ongoing, rather than just having a 1-2 hour consultation. It's weekly, or twice a week in some groups, right? So it's an ongoing, right? Which is how life is. It's ongoing. So a one-time consultation is okay, but what about 3 weeks from now? So that's why we have these groups. All right. So here we are. Just join these groups. It's the CFC group if you have chronically fermenting cells, and you all know what chronically fermenting cells are by now. I hope so. It's what some people call cancer, but Cancer is an astrological sign. So these are chronically fermenting cells. So there's a CFC group, then there's the parasite group, and then there's the health and healing group. So um, it, go to drlodi.com, 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 and you can find out. Just join those groups so that we can interact and I can answer these. I can answer questions more to your satisfaction and my satisfaction because I I want to answer the question. All right, so here, and what is this saying? Yeah, so and remember on X and TikTok, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD, and all the rest, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble, etc. It's at Dr. Thomas Lodi. There's no MD at the end. Okay, that's how you find us. Okay, and then there is the Dr. Lodi podcast. Yeah, right, and then it says here, so please like, follow, share this live, and subscribe to our channel so you'll receive notifications every time we go live or post new content. Okay, good. Webinar. Okay, good. And as a reminder, the webinar, The Human Diet, which is a 4-part series, we're still waiting on part 4. We're going to do that. Anyway, I want to think about it now. So anyway, let's get on to the questions because I don't want to waste too much time not doing that because I know everyone's very interested. And here is, all right, cool, fantastic. A lot of people from all right, yeah. So again, this questions come up with always the questions come up with anti-parasitic medications and CFCs. Okay, and you guys have to stop using the words that John D. Rockefeller and his buddies put together in the disease model that have you on a nice train that ends at the morgue. I'm telling you, you use their words, use their language, you will enter the hospital one day and you won't be going out the primary exit. You'll be going out the secondary exit called the morgue. Okay, I'm telling you, I know. How do I know? Internship, residency, and then I admitted to worked in hospitals for years. That's how I know. Okay. Okay. All right, Emma. I gotcha. Uh, anyway, you guys, you're asking me questions, and you got to join the group so we can do those questions. And by the way, there's a few people on the groups who don't know what's available on the groups, and I don't understand that because they're sending and wanting to have a private consultation because they can't get questions answered. Just join the Zooms. We have these Zooms Mondays and Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Arizona time, wherever else you are. I use Arizona time because they don't change clocks for daylight savings. But every Monday and Wednesday, so if you're in a group, you go on there and we ask the questions and we go through your situation. All right. So let's look at this. Is from Betty, and Betty says, my niece has recurring meningioma on her head. It's her 3rd recurrence. Is surgery and radiation her only option? She is now 52 years old. Good morning, upstate New York. Yay. B. So the question is are surgery and radiation the only options? Well, first of all, meningiomas, just for clarification of terms, the meninges is the tissue that covers the brain and spinal cord, kind of connects it to the skull and to the to the the vertebra in the spine. It's kind of a covering, and it's got three layers to it. Anyway, the middle layer is the one that kind of grows in what are called meningiomas. So it's tissue called the meninges, and about three times more common in women. Um, and the average age is up around 60, 65, like that. Although, there are variations in that. It's usually considered benign. And, the difference in this situation with benign, when it's intracranial, when it's in the head, the distinction between benign and malignant is almost irrelevant because, um, because you're in a closed space and growth is going to cause compromise of the brain functions. So, it's so malignant usually, malignant, by definition should be the Warburg effect, or what's called aerobic glycolysis, which is, meaning that the cells are fermenting regardless of whether or not there's oxygen present. Because I mean, cells that are not in that condition, healthy cells, will ferment only when there's no oxygen. If there's oxygen, then it goes into the mitochondria, and that's how it produces energy. If there's not enough mitochondria around, or if there's no oxygen, or whatever happens, then it will go into fermentation. All right. So, that would be that's what distinguishes it on a molecular level. And then in terms of its activity, the thing about chronically fermenting cells is they um, spread. So it clearly then in what's called a benign meningioma tumor, it wouldn't spread. However, it's still in a closed space. It's still going to cause major problems with everything from headache and pain and dizziness, seizures, uh, loss of cognitive function, sensory impairment. It's terrible. So the question is there any other way to deal with this other than chemo and radiation? Well, oddly enough, one of the risk factors for meningiomas is radiation, having had radiation therapy. So that's kind of it's bizarre. That's one of the treatments. Um, and surgery often, these they don't work. And again, remember, just like whether we're talking about a fungus on the toenail or we're talking about a tumor in the brain, whatever we're talking about, we have to realize and keep in mind that whatever's our body is doing, it's doing it in response to the environment of the body. And when we're talking about the body, we're talking on a cellular level. So every cell, every group of cells that are called tissues and organs and glands, are living in a biochemical environment, and that biochemical environment is contributed to by the blood and the arteries pumped out of the heart, freshly oxygenated, gets to the tissues, and it diffuses across the capillaries, and that fluid that diffuses across serves as what's called the interstitial fluid or the extracellular matrix. But anyway, it's the environment in which cells live, and it's that environment that cells are responding. So what's in that blood? What's in that blood are everything you've eaten, drank, that's coming through your skin, you've inhaled, all that's in there. Also, all the molecules and other biochemicals that you're producing in your body, such as hormones and peptides and proteins, and yeah, all that's in that fluid as well. And then of course there's the waste, the cellular waste, the biochemical, first of all, the toxins that got in and haven't yet been detoxified by the liver and or kidneys, as well as metabolic wastes. So that's the aquarium or the soup or the stew or the environment in which cells live, and that's what they're responding to. So whenever we have something going on in our body, we have to understand that it's in response to that. It's not like happening on it. So it doesn't do something. It doesn't start. It's only responding. Let me give you an example. Um, for example, if you've got cells that have, okay, if you have a lot of estrogen in that environment, in the extracellular fluid. So the cells that are going to be affected by that are cells with estrogen receptors. All right, so their estrogen receptors will get saturated, all that. So those signals, and it's a systemic wide thing. Especially the receptors in the brain, part of the brain called the hypothalamus, will determine that, and it will send a signal to the pituitary all the way down to the cells to tell them to stop making estrogens. Anyway, that's so the cell will stop making estrogens. There's not enough estrogens, it'll start making it. If there's too much glucose because you're eating too much, cooked carbohydrates, and sweet cooked carbohydrates, basically, which includes everything down to candy bars, right? You've got too much glucose, so the cell, all the cells are going to become say, wait a minute, too much, and they become insulin resistant. Insulin is what lets glucose in, so they become insulin resistant to protect themselves. Okay, so that's a response. It's not something that just happens. It happens, and this whole idea of a genetic predisposition is, that's exactly what it means, genetic predisposition. They want me to repeat that again? Okay, I'm going to try to. I'm not going to get close. That's what genetic predisposition means. It doesn't mean anything. There's no such thing as you have a genetic predisposition. That's kind of like pre-boarding, right? Okay, we're going to take pre-boarding now. So all the people that were sitting there around the waiting for their flight, they weren't boarding yet, so they were pre-boarding, right? Wasn't that pre-boarding? No. Now we're going to start pre-boarding. See, all these words are bizarre; they make no sense. But we follow them like really polite and culturally appropriate robots. So anyway, language is crazy. It's everything. It's the way you perceive reality is your language. So be very careful and use it. I was watching this. What do you call it? This somebody sent me a reel or whatever, and it was some really good information. But the guy's going, yo, this shit. Yeah. So why talk like that? Why there's one generation, is my son's generation, my daughter's generation. Somehow it became the thing to do. If you want to be whatever, you're going to talk like you never went to school and you never studied. And the more you can talk like that, then what? Even if you're trying to transmit some really important information. I don't know. Anyway, language is really, really important. Getting back to the meningioma, and as I was saying, whether it's a fungus on the toenail, doesn't matter what it is. Remember, it's whatever our body's doing, it's doing in response to something. Therefore, what do we do to manage it? We need to get rid of any potential garbage, poisons, toxins at all. That's what we got to do, because our body's going to is responding to those. We need to make sure that environment in which our cells are living have everything that they need for optimal functioning, and nothing that they don't need, nothing that will hamper that functioning. If we can do that, then it's going to be fine, because genetically, the genetics are that to produce and optimally function. We're not hardwired to mess up. We're not hardwired to. We don't have genetic predispositions to. There's no such thing as a genetic predisposition. I would like a geneticist to explain to me what is a genetic predisposition. It's a predisposition. It's not a disposition. It's a predisposition. And now, if you notice, what you can go and look up any condition in the world, and you're going to see now that in addition to uh, lots of glucose causing insulin resistance, it's also a genetic predisposition. Of course, it's a genetic predisposition. It's a genetic response. It's a way your body will homeostatically adapt to too much glucose. It's the genetic predisposition. I guess so. Anyway, so this meningioma, whatever, it's not just happening. It's happening because something. So what you want to do, since we don't know, and if you go look at all the experts, you can look at Mayo Clinic, you can look at Johns Hopkins, you can anywhere. They're going to say, well, we don't really know what it is or why it's doing that. But so they don't know. Now, of course, because it happens in women more frequently than men, then we've got to look at hormones, right? What's the difference between men and women? Hormones? A little bit more than that. But anyway, so yeah, there are estrogen receptors on these meningiomas. And do you know that most of them have progesterone receptors? And what relevance does that have? Nothing. You know why? Because the brain has estrogen and progesterone receptors. Yeah. Colon? Yeah. Pancreas? Prostate? Almost all cells have them. Oh, what about alpha and ER beta? Yeah, well, there's confusion there. Anyway, just because there's estrogen receptors, and that it must be somehow related. So what they're looking for is a way to target a therapy to target the meningioma. But the interesting thing is that since most of these meningiomas occur in women who are postmenopausal, the whole idea of estrogen and progesterone sort of becomes what? Huh? Why do I say that? Because when a woman's gone through menopause, she has very low levels of estrogens and progesterone. So it's all I can tell you is that it's a completely confused and unknown situation. And so what I'm saying is that it's really not confused and unknown. Just they are, because they can't find a drug to target it. That's what they're looking for. They're at war. Remember, we're talking about the military here, right? Rocky and his gang are military. So the thing is this: we eliminate all toxins, and we start with our biological dentist, our certified biological dentist, who's certified by the IAOMT, right? That's what we're looking for. That's how we start. And we also start our cleansing. We do all the things that we know for cleansing. We've got to clean out. We've got to remove all toxins. And that's going to include plastics and whatever other environmental toxins you've been exposed to, mold, whatever it is, you need to clean that out. And you will do that when you realize that there's no other option, and that it's the only thing that not only makes sense, but works. All right. And you only come to the conclusion that you need to do something like that is when you've suffered enough. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, human beings are not that smart. And so we have to be hit on the head a few times before we're going to say, oh, okay, I better go that way. I keep getting hit on the head when I go this way. Right. And that's called pain and suffering. So pain and suffering help us modify our course. Otherwise, we're going to keep doing whatever we were doing at, either we grew up, either these were, dietary and social habits that we got from our family, or we were exposed to during adolescence or whatever. But, there's a point at which our lifestyles become extremely toxic. And why should I stop? I'm having fun, we're not going to stop until we have pain or suffering. And then we're going to say, wait a minute, I better rethink this. And that's why we rethink it. So pain and suffering are our best friends, because logic doesn't work. Believe me, I speak logic to people. It doesn't work. So that's why I went away and I took this course, and then I went to graduate school and I've got a PhD now in sarcasm. Yeah, and sarcasm works a lot of times. because it sneaks in right under the door. It's like sarcasm and humor are kind of two ways of sneaking under the door for all the people with the walls up. But still, again, after the conversation between you and I is over, you go back to living your life. And unless you're in pain, unless you're suffering enough, you won't change. So bring it on. If that's what we need to make a change, that's going to result in us having a healthy, happy life, then let's do it. All right. If that's what was required. All right. So, and that apparently is. So, we clean everything out. We make sure we're eating the right things, and we make sure we're living according to our biology. Our biology, believe it or not, is that we are diurnal. We are diurnal, meaning we go to sleep with the sun. We wake up with the sun. That's how our physiology works. I might not like that because I love hanging out at midnight doing whatever, but the consequence of waking up, staying up at midnight every night is that I will not renew my cells. I will not have restoration of healthy cells, and I will have a quicker degeneration, and I'm going to age more quickly. Yeah, for sure. 100%. That's it. So if your goal is to age as quickly as possible, go to bed late. And then if you really want to ensure 100%, eat just before you go to bed. Eat before you go to bed and go to bed late. Okay. So anyway, we live according to our biological requirements. If we do all that, then these things don't happen. And what I'm saying is that this growth in the second layer of the meninges, which happens in women more than men, but still happens to everyone at a later age. There's no real answer to how it comes about, but we know, because we understand that the body is doing what it's doing in response to. So we have to modify it, and we do that by what we eat. That's all I can say. But unfortunately, if your niece is having, severe symptoms, I don't know, seizures or what's going on, and it's and the word recurrence, don't use their words, okay? Their words there's no recurrence. It's a word. It means nothing, and it's their vocabulary. The thing is that with this growth of that layer in the meninges has never stopped. Okay, because whatever is causing it hasn't been dealt with. So that's what we need to do. And she's 52. She's right in that, right around the age of what's typical. But again, Betty, that's really what is required always with everything, but especially for your niece. And what I might suggest is what you and or her specifically, and if you're clearly very concerned about her, join the group, one of our groups, the CFC group, so we can talk and I can find out more. All right, all right. Now let's go on to Deborah. It's cold. All right. Wait a minute. Where we go? Yay! There we are. Okay. This is not live stream, bro. Huh? Know that feeling with dealing with kids. Good, very good, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so how come I never see anything from? Okay, so here we go. Okay, let's go to the next question. So the next question is Deborah, and it's saying that my niece, who is 3 years old, every time the child has the sniffles or a bad cough, they run to the doctor and antibiotics are constantly prescribed. She's an active little child and recently was sent to the doctor again because they noticed some hair missing in spots on top of her scalp. The doctor gave her more antibiotics, again, amoxicillin. Her parents only listen to the doctor and believe anything they tell them. My niece is constantly coughing, runny nose, and snores when she sleeps. And I noticed she has dark rings under her eyes. What can I do for this child to get them off the antibiotics that are not helping her condition and they are not getting answers of why she's getting sick? She recently had blood work drawn, about 6 vials of blood, and received no answer. She's also been vaccinated with COVID vaccine at 1 years old. Their go-to food snack is candy and all things sugar. I'm just concerned. I'm a concerned aunt. What can I do? Oh, my gosh, Deborah, this poor little girl. I mean, I mean, you know, I feel like calling CPS. I mean, I'm not me, but I mean, you know, Khalid, all you people to talk. We need to get in the groups, okay? Because I can't do that right now, okay? I have to do these. I owe it to Deborah. She sent this question in, okay? Thank you. So please join these groups, okay? So anyway, this poor little girl, 3 years old, okay? Um, one of the most beautiful things that you can ever see with a child is a child sitting there on the earth with their hands playing around with the earth, the soil, dirty, and a runny nose. What's happening? They're doing they're doing what is natural, and they're getting exposed to all sorts of stuff so that their immune system is getting stronger. That's how you exercise the immune system. That's how you exercise the immune system. Those runny noses, all that stuff, the sniffles, the coughs, and all that. That's our bodies getting strong. Okay, so that we can grow up and have a very healthy, highly competent immune system. So that's the beautiful thing, to see a little kid playing in the on the earth with sniffles. And of course, they gave so she had spots, usually little losses of hair, that's called alopecia areata, and I never heard of anybody giving an antibiotic for that. This guy, uh, or lady, whatever it is, this doctor. So really, Deborah, the thing is what can you do for this niece? Your niece is talk to her parents. I mean, her parents. First of all, she got the injection at 1 years old for covert ID. I mean, COVID. So I don't know what to say. I mean, this is, there's nothing you can do, unfortunately, except talk to her parents and try to, try to, I don't know. You can't do anything for her, sadly. It's tragic. It makes you cry. You want to cry. This poor little girl has no chance. I mean, she has a chance, but I don't know what it is. Or her parents would have, got her. Uh, I, Deborah, come on, And I was going to ask you. You said uh, she's got dark circles under her eyes, and that what are the other things about? She snores when she sleeps. Okay, snoring in a child. I was going to say she must be overweight. Is she overweight? And and then we see that she's eating lots of candy and sugar. And there's just like it's like there's nothing you can do. You got to talk to her parents. You got to talk to her parents. It's crazy. It's just crazy. I don't know what to say about that except Child abuse comes in many, many forms, and it's not just physical or sexual. All right, it's this kind of stuff too. It's child abuse. Absolutely, absolutely, 100% child abuse. There, there's no difference than if they were teaching her how to smoke at 3. They teach you how to smoke cigarettes or give her this kind of lifestyle, same thing. Why? Why do I say that? Because the result will be the same, and that is extreme sickness and suffering. Just tragedy. Okay, Irene. I have a swelling on my left clavicle. Everybody, clavicle here. Doctor says the results is a lipoma, but wants further test. I'm really hesitant. Second issue is I have a smell that does not go away. That really almost destroys me. I don't understand whether it is genetic or medical. All right, Irene, let's all right, so listen, who's this all right, I don't understand it. Jennifer Lawrence. You want everyone to go see Dr. Kat Lindley. Huh. Is that true? Why do you want to do that, Jennifer? Why are you on our live stream doing that? And Hammy, why does it keep saying reload? Oops, something went wrong. Try reloading the page. Oops, something went wrong. All right. All right. So anyway, whatever your name is, Jennifer Lawrence, replying to Angela. Angela Condas, check out Dr. Kat Lindley. Okay. So Hammy, good. All right. So it's insane. People do what's my God. What if you used all this effort at doing like at being positive, helpful, loving things for people instead of sneaking? People are weird. My gosh. All right. So the smell. Okay. So here, let's deal with Irene. Let's deal with these two. So first of all, the swelling on your clavicle. If they're saying it's a lipoma, I mean, lipomas are pretty easily. All right. Oh my God. And you, Luke Donald. Luke Donald, I got an idea. Why don't you go check out Kat Lindy? Luke Donald. All right. Anyway, insane, you guys. It's insane. So this swelling, okay, if it's a lipoma, it's kind of like it feels like it's like it's kind of soft. It's got a even borders. You know, it's got even borders and it's soft and it's usually movable. I mean, it's not stuck to the background, to the tissues. All right, that's a lipoma, and you don't need other tests. There's no other tests. There's no other tests to do. All right. So, yeah. Now, it's on your clavicle. So that's the question. Is it movable? Is it stuck? That's what that, is it painful? Is it, there's a lot of things I would ask you, Irene, if we were in a group and I could have a dialogue, because I need to find out more so I could really help you understand this. But if it's, a lipoma is not hard to figure out. You touch it and, oh, it's a lipoma. It's a ball of fat. That's what lipoma is. It's a little ball of fat. It's well circumscribed. All right. Anyway, and it's not pain unless it's big and it's in a place that's impinging on another structure in the body. It's not going to be a problem. All right. And yeah, so yeah, they don't need to do anything else. I'm telling you, if it is a lipoma. But since I can't talk to you, I can't help you get to the bottom. But if it now, the second issue is that you have a smell that does not go away. It really destroys you. Smells. I mean, you don't really think it's genetic, do you? Or, I mean, you think you have a gene to have a smell come out of you? Come on. Don't be so hypnotized by Rocky and his gang, okay? There's no genetic and medical. What does medical mean? All right. So when you say smell, I'm not sure what you mean. Now, there are different places from which we can have odors coming out that are foul. Oftentimes, the things that are odoriferous are foul smelling. Many times are anaerobic microorganisms, and kind of like I don't know, toe jam, blue cheese, that kind of stuff. That's kind of weird smell. Um, and then when we think of really foul, of course, we're going to think of gas, and especially if someone who has lots of gallstones and they're not able to digest fat very well, the gas that they will get is extremely foul. It's very, very. So that's one kind of foul odor, but the probably not probably the most foul smelling odor that I've ever encountered in working as in this with people in hospitals and stuff is I was called to the emergency room, and usually on the outside of the door before we go in, you have a chart. It talks about the person's chief complaint. Well, that chief complaint is chest pain. That a chief complaint is bleeding, or chief complaint is whatever. I didn't have to read the chart. I couldn't get near. I got near the room, and it was foul, very foul smell. Anyway, went in. They had some uh, this peppermint type oil that we put on masks, and we could smell that because it was really bad. Anyway, so I examined this guy, and the of course, you look in the mouth and uh, for anything going on in there, and then listen to the lungs. And I heard in the lungs that there was an area where it was like a pneumonia, right? There was, except it didn't quite have the sound of a pneumonia. It was kind of just anyway. There was an area that it wasn't. There was no movement when the lungs would breathe. That wouldn't move. It was stuck. So obviously, it was an abscess. Um, and so with an abscess like that, and that's severe and all that, then we have to drain it. So, we got him in position and all that, and then we're going to put it and drain out the thing. And it was under such pressure that when we put in the needle, it was actually a little catheter. Put in the catheter, It it blew out and this went all over my clothes and my shoes. I had to throw the shoes out. And it was, yeah, yeah. Anyway, so my point is this: where did it come from? It came from the mouth, went down into the lungs, and it was the person that inhaled, and it was an anaerobic organism, microorganism in the lung, um, and it was a. So when you say you have a smell that is ruining your life, I kind of think of that kind of thing. So uh, you need you need you need to get. I think you need to change doctors because if a doctor doesn't know if a lipoma or not, then you because lipomas are not diagnostic challenges. They're really simple. Um, and uh, but with this thing here going on with you, I'm not sure how bad this odor is, but it sounds like you said it's almost destroying you. So and if I were able to communicate with you, I'd ask you questions, and I can't. So I wish you would, Irene, join a health and healing group or something. Okay. But anyway, you've got to consider that. You got to consider that you could have an abscess in the lung, you could have an abscess in your mouth, you could have, uh, you know, I, it doesn't sound like you're talking about gas. So, and if it were an abscess skin lesion, you would be telling me that there's this skin thing, whatever. So you're not telling me that. So I've got to assume that you're talking about something that is not quite visible, and yet it's extremely foul and destroying your life. So that's heavy duty. Anyway, you got to look into that. Look into your lungs. I mean, that's lungs, mouth, things like that. I wish I knew where you were. So anyway, join the group so we can talk Monday, tomorrow. You guys, tomorrow, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Okay, next one is Elizabeth. 4 years, lump on breast, grown, changes shape, very hard near surface. Thought it was a spider bite. Next day, red circle, heated, formed sac. What test is available for depth, mass, and blood supply without being injected with contrast or 3D mammogram that crushes my cells? Yeah. Wow. Pretty. Um, okay, so wait a minute. It's 4 years, a lump on your breast. It changes shape. It's hard near the surface. So it sounds like you thought it was a spider bite, I guess 4 years ago when it first came about. And the next day it had a red circle and it was hot. All right. I mean, that's could be a bite. Sure. I mean, from what you're describing. And then it formed a sac. So you're saying it was fluctuant, soft. You see why we need to talk. I need to find out what you're talking about. So here's the thing. Um, all right. It's very odd. It doesn't, what I'm not getting from your description here, is it part of the breast tissue, or is it just like under the skin and sitting sort of on top of the breast tissue? You know, is that what it is? 4 years it's been around. So, well, first of all, and you've got this. The topic is parasites, so you're thinking of a parasite of some sort, and the test for parasites, like that for skin. We're not talking about gastrointestinal. We're talking about skin. There's something called the SNP. It's skin SNP test. and basically they use this uh, for onchocerciasis, river blindness. But they just scrape it. They scrape the skin um, off from around that area, and then they soak it in like saline, real very salty. And what happens is the little what do you call it? The larvae are drawn out because the salt sucks them out, right? And they can see that that's called the skin sniff test. The other one is skin scraping, where they just do that. They look under the microscope for mites and eggs and stuff like that. But that's not quite for what you're talking about. But and then there's things like cutaneous leishmaniasis, which it doesn't sound like at all. So the only other thing I can think of on the skin would be myiasis and myasis. Um, and this comes from fly larvae, larva. And these are called ectoparasites because they're on the outside of the body. So these could be quite debilitating, cause a lot of suffering, and extremely difficult to eliminate and all that. It doesn't sound like what you have because, um, the myiasis, which is basically a fly, uh, will lay its eggs somewhere near a wound. It could be a little small, little a bite, whatever, and it lives on, it eats that tissue, and and the larvae go into your skin, and they spread around, and they're painful and all that. So they're not going to usually remain as one lesion. It spreads around, and it's a horrible situation. It really doesn't sound like it. I mean, rarely there might be one for a while, but it's just not here. So I really don't know what you have. It needs to be evaluated because if it's changing shape, it's hard near the surface. Yeah, and there's no need for a mammogram. Sounds like a good physical exam with hands. Do you have lymph nodes affected? Are lymph nodes in the armpit associated with that breast? Um, any nipple discharge? Yeah, it's got to be evaluated by someone who knows what they're doing. So have you, have you gone to maybe find a dermatologist? Don't go to you go to a dermatologist. Actually, if you found a good internist, internal medicine, they're supposed to be major gatekeepers that are the pilots, captains, and they're able to figure out what's happening. Usually, a good internist, but it sounds like they're harder to find. But this can be done. So I mean, are there blood tests? Yeah, other than doing these tests, there are what they call serological markers, right? And um, where they test the blood for antibodies. They can use the immunoblot, the ELISA test, the different ways for looking, and they look at the parasite mRNA. They use PCR for that. So there are ways that are where you don't have to, you know, invade the skin or anything like that. But you could do that. You could start out with that, and see if they could find anything like that. But again, any kind of myiasis, any kind of or all these other exotic ones are pretty much ruled out. So this here doesn't really fit anything. So I would need to see. I'd need to see you, and if you could do the join the groups, it's on your breast. I know you wouldn't want to share that publicly. So, but anyway, we could talk about it. You could describe it and all that. I have to ask questions. But you got to find somebody good in your area. You've got to find I would say, considering what you think it is, the way you've described it, you don't want to go to a breast or or any kind of internal medicine subspecialty because they're going to want to do mammograms and all that sort of thing. That stuff would be, if it were even considered, you might eventually wind up with a breast ultrasound, but first a good physical exam with hands and a mind, a brain that was trained, a trained brain to figure out what it could possibly be. There's a lot of things. But you're saying a formed sac, heated red day. So something bit it. That sounds like that was the origin. So many, I think. Elizabeth, join the group. Let me talk to you. Okay, tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Next. Am I on now? I'm on again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wasn't that fun, you guys? Oh, I hope you guys come back. This was crazy. All right. Remember, Instagram is the fail-safe. Okay, so if we were, if you know, I I would just be on Instagram. Very, 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 very. This, it's the word frustrating. Appropriate? Yes, it is. Okay, extremely frustrating. I don't know. What? Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're on, I think, and let's go back to where we were. Where were we? Where were we? We were with Kevin, right? Kevin, you were talking about where huh? Nah. Let me find you, Kevin. 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 Where was your gosh? Kevin. Okay. All right. All right, here we go. Okay. Kevin. Uh where is it? Oh, okay. So your question, I'm sorry, Kevin. Okay, so liver CFCs. Okay, Kevin, you're focusing on the antiparasitics for liver CFCs. Now, liver CFCs is a major situation in your life that you've got to be doing more. I'm you're asking me about one little section of this entire program that you should be on, and that's makes me nervous because I hope you're doing everything else that you need to do. I hope you've got a biological dentist, all that sort of thing, and um, if you've got a prime, and then when you say liver CFCs, don't use the word cancer, Kevin. Come on, don't use the word cancer, Kevin. Come on, do you like yourself, Kevin? Then don't use that word. All right. If you like yourself, don't use the word. Okay. All right. So do you mean that it started in there as what they call a primary hepatoma? It's a primary liver CFC, or do you mean that it started somewhere else and it metastasized? Completely, different in that um, in the way it acts. You know, and there are other differences too. So, but I don't know what you're talking about. But you're asking me about is levimisole, which is it's a synthetic anti-helminthic anti-worm thing. You're taking ivermectin, fenbendazole, and praziquantel. 600 milligrams a day is not usually the standard course. It's just for what we're talking about. In the conventional world, it is for only a few days, but for us, it's different. It's usually 600 milligrams 3 times a day. But depending, I'm not sure of your situation at all, so I can't say. But that's usually what it is. And niclosamide is usually 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Is that what you were looking for? Those are the only two things you want? Because it doesn't look like you wanted to talk about what's going on. You just wanted those two dosages, and you could have asked Chad. Okay, your buddy Chad GPT. That's whatever his name is, GPT. The point is this: levimisole is was like not was banned in this country for a while. Doesn't mean much, but I mean, one of the things it causes is agranulocytosis, which is where you you stop making granulocytes, which are the white blood cells that gobble up stuff like neutrophils, um, you know, um, basophils, eosinophils, you know, and if you don't have neutrophils, it, those are the cells that get knocked down first in with chemotherapy, and people wind up going into septic shock. So, um, anyway, so that's one of the side effects from it. So it's kind of and bizarre, really, really, really bizarre is I don't know how they came up with this, but they use that as they when they cut cocaine. They use it as an adulterant in cocaine. It's very strange. I don't know how they came up with that. Anyway, so it was actually taken this drug was taken off the market for humans and just used in veterinary medicine. Can you believe that? It's yeah, the world could not get more bizarre than it is. It could not. There's no way to get more bizarre than it is. Okay. So this is tragic here. It's tragic. But anyway, could it be added? I wouldn't add it. If you're taking ivermectin and niclosamide and prostaquanto, what are you going to add? You don't need to add. You've got everything covered. But I hope that's not all you're doing. And I don't know what you mean by liver CFCs. I don't know if it started in your colon or your lung. We don't know anything. So Kevin, join the groups, join the CFC group, go to drlodi.com, join the group, and then tomorrow at 5 p.m. Arizona time, which is the same time we started today, we will start tomorrow. Join the group and we can talk about this because I really want to understand what's going on, and I don't want you to put your hopes into thinking that this is all you need to do. It's an important part of it, but it's just a part. All right, and that's really my message to you tonight is that. But I would not use this levimusal. I would not. It's just you. First of all, you've already taken care of all the worms, and with the other drugs, and the side effects is just not worth it. All right, Kevin, Maria. Lung CFCs. Please don't use that word. You guys keep using these words that are deadly. My 80-year-old husband has been diagnosed with malignant pleural mesothelioma in June this year with immunotherapy or chemo. Not an option for him. Please, can he try any alternative? All right, Maria. So I'm not sure where you are, Maria, but please. Yeah, there's a lot of things he can do. And Maria, you DrLodi.com. Just go there now, join it, join the CFC group, and let's talk tomorrow at the same time we started today, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Let's talk because this situation with your husband is something that needs to be dealt with quite seriously, methodically. Okay. And yeah, he can be helped. There's lots of things we can get started with. Okay. And I'm glad they say that immunotherapy and chemo is not an option for him because it means they're not going to poison him. So that's beautiful. You've been relieved. Okay, so and they pushed you over here. I can't believe that. That's amazing. It's a blessing, Maria. Right. So your husband is mesothelioma. Okay. So as you know, that's again the lining of the lung, the outside of the lung. Excuse me. Connecting it to the chest wall. Anyway, so let's please, because there's a lot of things he needs to do that anybody with CFCs needs to do, and we always talk about that. But and that's cleansing and all that. And I don't know his condition. I don't know, is he having difficulty breathing? Is he having pain? Is he able to eat? There's so much I don't know. So it's really it's impossible to give any advice at all without that information. So Um, but yes, lots of stuff we can do. And he's 80, means he's going to need some peptides for his thymus gland to get it to get his immunity going and all that sort of thing. Okay, so yes, so it does work, Maria. There's a lot of things we can do. drlodi.com. Get there now. Join and let's talk tomorrow. Okay. I hope you guys do this, because otherwise, with the detail and the level and the intensity, severity of these situations that are coming up, they really require that we, you know, you obviously want an answer, and the only way I can answer it is with this dialogue. I need to know more so I can help you. I can't help you with this. With these are all they're vague. They're vague, and they're not enough. I know that's what you don't look at it that way, but now you know this is not enough information for me. So I want to help. I can't. So help me help you. Join the group, drlodi.com. But yes, Maria, yes, the answer is yes, we can help him. James, you said you would call my doctor for me about using ivermectin and metazole so I can get rid of my parasite problem. I live in uh, Gadsden, Alabama. I'm currently homeless and I have to get completely well, but he doesn't even listen to me about anything. Please help me by just telling him about the detox. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Okay. I never said I'm going to call your doctor. If your doctor gets in touch with me, that's one thing. Okay. Now here's the thing, James. You don't need to go through a doctor, and if you do go through it, if you're homeless, obviously your money's a problem, right? And if you get these medications through conventional ways, so he writes a prescription. First of all, he won't write how much you need. He just won't. He won't write the amounts that we usually uh, suggest. He won't. And if he does, the pharmacy won't fill them. The pharmacy won't fill them because it's not it's not standard. So uh, now, so there's a way of avoiding the whole thing, and there are ways of getting these. So we have, there's if you've been watching or listening to these at all, you'll know that there are many ways online to get these medications, and usually a lot less expensive than you would if you went through a pharmacy, a standard retail pharmacy. So there's the Fenben, whatever it's called, Fenben. I think it's called Fenben Labs, right? Fenben Labs. And then there's niclosam.com. Um, but anyway, and then in fact, someone will be able to direct you, guide you. If you go to hello at drlodi.com, drlodi.com, hello at drlodi.com, someone can maybe help you, direct you on where to get these. But that's not how it works. I don't call your doctor and then tell him what to do, right? You have to have spoken with your doctor. They're interested in collaborating with me. They would contact me and let me know, and that's how it works. So um, but remember, if you do that way, it's not going to work anyway. They won't do it. These are they're higher doses, more frequent than is standard, and so he won't write it. And if he does, this pharmacy won't fill it. So you've got to go the other ways. And I'm telling you, these are the other ways. And if money obviously is a concern for you, then you need to find the least expensive way to deal with this. And your situation sounds really horrible, and I wish I could help you somehow, because it's what's going on with this world, man. That's so sad, Vincent or James. Your doctor's name is Vincent. Sorry. Um, my gosh. What can I say? So it sounds like you might have an income, but you don't have a home. So, uh, wow, how could that be? Alabama. My gosh, I don't know what to say. I would probably try to gather enough money to buy an airplane ticket and get out of there. The closest place probably is Mexico, Costa Rica. It just, I don't know. Doesn't sound like you're in the right place, James. Yeah, consider not being there because it's not treating you very kindly. Oh, so sad. Okay, but anyway, that's it. Go to hello at drlodi.com, drlodi.com, and we can guide you on where to find Debbie. I was found with a rare leiomyosarcoma within a rare intussusception. I struggle with the condition after mold exposure, genetics, pesticides. Huh. Mold exposure, genetics, pesticides, and much more, creating MCs, which is a chemical sensitivity to everything. I'm so sensitive, should be OCS, and I'm behind on scans because every office is almost impossible to enter. My reactions, my brain and heart are affected extremely. They're also saying possible return to liver, seeing spots on the lungs and white matter lesions on the brain. I am a mom of an 8-year-old and a 26-year-old, and with MCs, MCs fighting this. I'm not going to say the word cancer, and you should never say it again, Debbie. But you guys, come on, come on, come on, come on. They got you. They got you. Rocky's got you. He's got your language, so he's got you. If you don't change your language, you're dead, people. If you don't change your language, you're dead. You've got chronically fermenting cells. Okay. And I don't know what MCs is. I don't know the acronyms. I don't know what OCS is. I don't know what MCs are. So please, when people write me, don't use acronyms because just remember, I'm acronomically stupid. Um, anyway, so 26-year-old with MCs fighting this CFCs. Any options that are available are impossible for me. So I'm looking for the most natural way to do this. After getting sick, it's open to my eyes to many things, especially how toxic our world truly is, because I feel every bit of it due to the MCs. It makes life on to navigate. Was already hard enough due to the losses we experienced after losing everything due to the mold being displaced and nowhere to go and nothing. So I supplements getting them all sometimes or difficult and getting them in rotation. Do you know what might have caused spindle cell leiomyosarcoma in the intestines with a complete blockage? I was first diagnosed with colitis and kidney stones. A week later, returned to the ER to have emergency surgery. No one wanted to listen to the environmental aspects of what was causing all of my reactions to why they thought I would be on a ventilator. When I say I'm sensitive, I mean to everything, the chemicals. You've got to understand something here, Debbie, that I don't really understand what you're saying. It's you. You're obviously very sick, and you mentioned that it's affecting your your brain and all that. And you're very sick, and but just to let you know that and there's no punctuation at all here, and these are just run-on sentences. and the syntax is odd, and so I just can't. I'm not sure. I've seen. I've only seen one other person talk about having MCS. Anybody out there? Anybody out there? Help me with MCS. Anybody help me with MCS? What is MCS? Okay. All right, you guys. What is MCS? Anybody help me with MCS? MCS. Peter Nelson. A few core blood. All right. So anyway, I don't know what MCS is. I'm really having a hard time here with your question. So uh 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 I struggle. I'm sensitive. I mean, to everything the chemicals. I struggle with MCAS also, and I have a lot of spinal issues. MCS, mast cells. MCS. Okay. I step into the oncologist's office because they are doing chemo and radiation 20 feet from where Yeah. Okay. So I can't understand you. Okay. Debbie, I hope. Okay. So it just says try reloading again. So again, Restream just went off again. Um, okay. Anyway, everyone. Anyway, okay. I apologize, Debbie, but I don't understand you, and I understand you're in deep, deep distress, and it sounds like you have very good reason to be distressed, and no, and your ability to communicate has been impaired. So, Debbie, if you can get to drlodi.com, drlodi.com, join the CFC group. Okay, we need to talk, meet twice a week. We'll meet every Monday and Wednesday and talk and help you, right? Because at this point, I don't even really know. I mean, I know you have a leiomyosarcoma, and I know it occurred in the rare place, but that doesn't matter. Remember, it doesn't matter wherever it occurs is just where it occurs. It doesn't. The only relevance of where something occurs is because the, its local effect is going to be in that area, right? So that and that's the relevance of any location. In a location, whatever organ something CFCs begin, um, the the particular function of that organ, the drainage patterns and the blood vessel, the veins and the lymphatics, the organs that are near it, all of that is what's relevant. But don't don't get lost on a question like why would it form there. It's just, it doesn't matter. Even if you knew why, that's not going to change that it did. And so that's what we have to deal with. Okay, that it did. All right. All right. So you really need some clarity in your life. Right now, you're very confused, and I don't. What? Okay, so you're very confused. You're very. Just get in touch with me because I cannot. First of all, I don't. There's way too much that I don't understand in your communication for me to be able to address them. Except that you need some real powerful, strong help, and that's what I will provide. But you got to get in touch with me. You got to join drlodi.com, drlodi.com. Join it, and I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Okay, be there. Okay, Debbie, be there. Can you send me a message saying you're going to be there? Come on, come on, come on. Nobody's going to send me a message. All right. Well, all right. I think you should be there, Debbie. Ah. Okay, Darko. Request for interview for Macedonian Information Agency, Republic of Macedonia. Sure, Darko. Um, I'll have someone contact you, Alice. Okay, and let's help. Be happy to help out in that area. Yes, the answer is yes, Darko. I mean, depend. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but if it's for information for the Republic of Macedonia regarding what? Oh, CFCs, ivermectin, fenbendazole. Happy to do that. Okay, now because a really small thing. Here's Jeffrey. Breast CFCs. Why not use DMSO to make fenbendazole for ivermectin soluble and apply it topically to your clean, dry skin to treat breast stage 4? Okay, Jeffrey. All right, so Jeffrey, so your thing regarding breast CFCs is Jeffrey, you and everybody else. Why are you guys using the word? Can I ask you guys a question? Why are you all using this word cancer? You know what it means, right? Everybody? It means death. It doesn't mean anything else. Every time you hear it, you completely destroy your immune system. So why do you keep saying it? First of all, it's not true. It's not true. Having chronically fermenting cells, it's just that. That's all it is. All right. It's something that can be dealt with. Um, and it can be dealt with in a logical way because you understand what it is. It's chronically fermenting cells. It's not this monster called cancer. Okay, stop using the word. My God, I don't know what it takes. So anyway, Jeffrey, for stage 4 breast CFCs is what you're asking me about breast. Using DMSO to make fenbendazole and ivermectin soluble and spray it and apply it topically. Yeah, you can use DMSO and you can get these the fenbendazole and ivermectin. You can get them in a paste form or however you want to get them and do that. Yes, yes, you can do that. All right, but you got to understand that's what's happened is people have come to think that this that these drugs will are the cure. There's no cure. You've got to do the same things you've always got to do, and that is, and I will, and I'm, and it's amazing that it has to be repeated so many times, but I will always do that, and that is, you've got to get rid of the garbage. You've got to clean out. Okay, again, something went wrong with the restream. It just told me I was off again, Jeffrey. Anyway, here's the thing. So it's not just fenbendazole, ivermectin. Yes, that would probably work. That will work. Okay, but you said stage 4. That means it's already in other organs. So um, that's so even if it's helpful in that area, it's not going to change that it's in the other areas. Which is why you definitely have to do all the cleansing and other things we talked about, getting your ascorbate, your vitamin C levels up. All these things you've got to get up. Your vitamin C, your mixed carotenoids, your mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols, which are E, vitamin D, melatonin, iodine, thyroid, adrenals, melatonin, thymus. Okay, there are things you've got to do in addition to this. So yeah, and I don't know um, which form of fenbendazole or ivermectin one would use with DMSO. So what I would do with that question that you're having there is to go to a compounding pharmacist and ask them how one could go about doing this so that it would be effective. All right, because uh, you know you've got to look at solubility, you've got to look at pH. There's a lot of things to look at. Um, and that's why you need someone who's trained in that area. So I would do that, Jeffrey. I would go to a compounding pharmacist in your area, and discuss it with them. Okay, this is Lizzie, and why is this so small? Okay, there we go. Yay. Chemo for breast thyroid CFCs 5 years ago. All good. Eating plant based 3 years. No booze, no dairy, all of it. My question is, recently my whole left foot becoming numb and tingly. Seems to be progressing. Not sure what's going on. What do you think is caused? I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's years ago. And why hasn't my clean diet? Huh. Okay, so wait a minute. So you're eating plant based. Okay. All right. Well, here's Lizzie. Your left foot is having the symptoms you're describing are neurological. It sounds like some sort of, it's what they call peripheral because it's not in the spine. So it's peripheral neuropathy, which just means that you've got some nerve involvement because you're saying it's numb and tingly. That's a nerve. Okay. Now, you know, it doesn't usually occur in just the foot because the spinal nerve, the nerve that's coming out of the spine, you're talking about foot, you're talking about the lumbar, the lower lumbar and sacral area, lumbar. So when the spine's when the nerve is coming out of the spine, if there's any kind of um, you know imbalance, osteoporosis, or anything with the bones in your of called the vertebra, um, that can impinge on the nerve root as it's exiting the spine, and then the entire route of that nerve would be affected. So usually it's not just the foot; it would probably be whatever particular nerve. So it might go down the left side of the leg and a crossover. It might go to the side. So try to be aware: is it other than your foot? Are there any other areas up that leg that might be involved? But anyway, um, so that's what it sounds like. It'd be very difficult for it to just be your foot. That would have For it to just be your foot. It would have to be that there's like something in your ankle or something that is impinging on the nerves as they come through the ankle into the foot. Uh, I mean, that's a possibility, but you would probably know if there was something like that going on. And is it your whole foot, one side or another? So, um, anyway, try to be aware of whether or not there's a pathway there of it coming out, and you need to see a good doctor. You know, I always hesitate when I say doctors because we've got to make sure it's a doctor who does not going to want to, doesn't have their own agenda, and they're really going to try to help you figure out what's going on with you. So normally a neurologist would be a good one to examine and figure out exactly what nerves are involved. Uh, but as I'm saying, it's very unlikely that it's just your foot. It's probably spinal. Um, and then there are ways. Let's say, for example, that you do have a nerve impingement on one of your lumbar spine nerves, spine nerve, where the nerves exit. The conventional um, algorithm says that you need to go to an orthopedic surgeon, and they remove stuff, and you don't need to do that. There's something called prolotherapy, which you can find you got to find an alternative practitioner who has been trained in it. But prolotherapy is a way of dealing with any kind of those kinds of impingements that are basically anatomical and blah blah blah. And you need a good, strong, solid doctor who can also look at the fact of whether or not you've got some, osteoporosis, and how can we deal with that? We can deal with that by doing disodium EDTA. We can deal with that and just tuning up your body, getting rid of toxins, all in all. And now you're plant based, which is great, but again, we've got to look at exactly what constitutes your diet, um, right? Because you could be an unhealthy plant based or a healthy plant based. There's it's bizarre. But for example, Loma Linda, where they do all the Seventh Day Adventist, the University for the Seventh Day Adventists, which are vegetarian. If you go to their hospital cafeteria, there was pretty bad food. It's plant based, but it was, you know, macaroni and cheese and things like that. So, um, and again, but you've done great. And now keep in mind that thyroid and breast are on the same meridian as your teeth as well, right? So, um, and I don't know. Hopefully, you went to a biological dentist, and if you didn't, you're going to go right away to an IAOMT certified biological dentist and have them do a 3D cone beam CT to find out what's going on, because the breast, thyroid are the same meridian, and they go down to stomach and either spleen or pancreas. Um, so you want to definitely do that. And Hashimoto's is a name they put on um, of an iodine deficiency thyroid problem, um, which the way that works is you've got to be taking supplemental iodine while you are taking a thyroid um, medicine of some kind, and using the natural ones like Westroid or um, Thyrovans. What's the one? The one. Anyway, but they're either from pigs or cows, um, or if you don't want to use those because of your ethics, then you could get a synthetic Synthroid, which is T4, and then a synthetic Cytomel, which is a T3, and you want to take them um, in the appropriate proportions, the T4 to the T3. And you're going to titrate up to the right dose based on your basal to body temperatures, because we can't trust the blood tests for T4 and T3 because we don't have enough iodine, because we're all iodine deficient unless we're eating a lot of seaweed in our diets, and most of us are not eating a lot of seaweed. So we don't have enough iodine. If we don't have enough iodine, even if our blood tests are normal, they're uh, that's because they're only looking at the molecules in a very gross way and not looking at the details. And if they looked at the details, they'd see there's no iodine there in where it needs to be. That's what they would see, but they don't look for that. So you can't rely on the blood test. But what you can rely on is your basal body temperatures. And you check those out by getting your armpit temperature in the morning before you get out of bed, because you don't want to. As soon as you start walking, you generate heat. So you don't want to change your body temperature. And you do that 5 days in a row. And if it's less than, you take the average, right? 5 days, add them up, divide by five. And if you're less than uh, 97.8 Fahrenheit or 36.8 Celsius, then you are hypolothyroid, and that's what you titrate up. So you'll take the medicine and incrementally, um, but you've got to be replacing the iodine, right? Lugols or iodoral. You got to be replacing the iodine because if you don't, then you'll have to be taking these medications for the rest of your life. If you're replacing the iodine, eventually in a couple of years, when your iodine deficit has been completely filled and you have enough iodine, you won't need to take the medicine anymore because you'll be making your own healthy thyroid. Okay, so that's very important. Remember, breast and thyroid are on the same meridian. You need to have checked that out. Your foot, I'm pretty sure it's spinal, but you need to get that checked by a competent neurologist. Would do it. Uh, yeah, and usually they don't. They're not. Yeah, see if you can find a neurologist. A good chiropractor should be able to tell you what's going on too. Really. So, um, anyway, let me know. Let us know. Let us know what's going on. And join if you join the health and healing group, we can talk to join drlodi.com. Okay. Uh, now, where are we here? This is yeah. Okay. So here's Michael. What about Crohn's disease? Okay, so Crohn's is for those of you who may not have be familiar with it, is it's kind of like these little, they're almost like ulcers with plaques, and they go all the way from the colon all the way up through the small intestines, and the person usually has, diarrhea, bloody diarrhea. There can be mucus in it. It's really quite debilitating, and basically, um, it's a severe form of dysbiosis. Okay, um, and that's what it is. You know, in other variations, they might call it SIBO, right? Uh, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is names, or they'll call it ulcerative colitis or colitis, or there's all different names. But there's basically a dysbiosis, meaning that the microorganisms in your gut are not in the relative proportions that would produce health. Okay, because their health requires a healthy microbiome. That's one of the ways. I mean that is an if you want to say, if you want to find out if someone's healthy, you look at the microbiome. Okay, because if it's well proportioned, you're fine. Now, just to keep in mind, and I say this every week, and I'll probably be saying it every week until I can't speak anymore, and that is this: whatever microorganisms you have in your gut are there because you're feeding them. And the ones that are not there because they don't have anything to eat. So depending on what you're eating will determine what is the makeup of your microbiome. So if you with Crohn's and any of those conditions, you have to first of all do a cleanse, juice cleanse, and then maybe even a water fast, and then eat uncooked organic plant food. Period. All right. And if you're sick enough, if you've been having a big problem with this and you've suffered enough, then you're going to say, okay, I'll do it. If not, you're going to say, well, I don't know. And if you're saying that still, you need to go back out and suffer. Okay. When you're done suffering and you're ready to heal, then this is what you do. There's only one way. You've got to restore the healthy gut microbiota. And you can only restore that by cleansing it and then feeding it the right way, going to sleep early. All these things to make you healthy. There's and you got to make sure you go to a biological dentist. It's never different for anyone. I mean, the focuses are maybe a little different depending on the situation. So in your situation, really want to focus on that. So we would also be recommending you get biphenyl. You can find it online. It's a powdered Bifidobacter bifidus, which is a colon bacteria. And you can make the powder, mix it with water, and you could get water, and then you could draw it up into a bulb syringe or some other way of putting it into your rectum just before you sleep so that it has a chance to colonize and be taking probiotics, but then eating real food only after you've done a nice cleanse. All right, so that's really what you should do. I just hope you do this because I know most people don't do it. They don't want to do it. So, Michael, you know what? Join the Health and Healing. At least join the group so we can talk about Crohn's for you. I don't know if it's for you or a friend or a loved one or whatever, but it's really the conventional world literally tells you they don't have it. There's no answer. And that's because their answers are always military. They always want to kill something and fight something. What we want to do is restore balance, restore harmony, restore all the right stuff. Okay, so it's a completely different paradigms. So yes, there is no military answer to your situation, but there's definitely a way for you to heal. Absolutely, 100% certainty. So Michael, so we can, instead of just you just heard what I said, you could do it. That would be fantastic. But you're going to run into like you're going to have questions. So that's why we need to interact. It's very, very important. Okay, here's this really. Can you do it? Can you do a segment on peptides and bioregulators, possibly leaking into more obscure research chemicals? I asked due to interest, not targeted health issues outside of the normal energy and lameness. I remember you speaking about MOTS-C and TB500 or BPC157. I don't remember, but I'm sure you spoke about MOTS-C. I'd really love to hear your take on it. Okay, yeah. So, sure. Yep. Um, I do speak about those things. I guess I should do another webinar on that. I don't know if there's any on YouTube that I did already in the past about those peptides. But yeah, I talked about MOTS-C and SS31 and BPC157. They all have different uses. But yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I will. All right. Whoa, you guys have so many questions. I just can't get to them all. Wow. And they're really important questions. So join the groups, you guys, so that we can really get into this stuff and work it out for you instead of, because I feel like my answers are just not going to be satisfactory. They're not for anybody. Um, we really need to go into these things, you know, in more detail, uh, and take it all seriously, okay? Because you've got serious concerns. Your questions are serious, you know, and they deserve serious answers, you know. So, gosh, drlodi.com. Go there, join these groups, and let's get this going, okay? So anyway, um, I am. I apologize for this restream that keeps going down, but anyway, thanks for hanging in there, and I'll see you all next week. Sawadee Kap, Namaste, Namaskar, and Aloha.